All right, so now that the exterior project is in a good spot, let's talk about the interior project briefly. So under the resources folder of this course, you're going to get a interior project SketchUp file. And again, you don't need to have SketchUp for this, but I just want to show you what this is. So I'm just going to zoom out real quick, and you've actually got a very similar project, right? It's a exterior, okay? So very similar to what I gave you before, but it also has an interior. So if I click this, we'll fly in here. And what's nice about this is you actually have a lot of different places to play with. We're going to cover how to render these two areas, but as a treat, you've got this office space, you've got a living area, and you also have bathrooms in here. So really cool project that I got to work on, and we'll be working on this together. So let's talk a little bit about the strategy and the materials for this project. Basically, the kitchen, pretty straightforward. We're going to be doing a subway tile as the backdrop. All the cabinets will be white. All the hardware will be gold, kind of like a brass. And then we're going to have wood oak floors, and then just, a light gray paint. So this is a very straightforward type of project. Basically, how I know these materials is usually the client will send an email or a look and feel board and be like, hey, this is what we're targeting. This was just literally a couple sentences. Hey, this is what we're thinking. And that was it. And that's sometimes what you'll deal with, right? You might not actually have a full look and feel board. It's just, these are the specs. These are the types of materials we're going for. This is what we need. So let's talk about how to get this into Lumion. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to save real quick. If you haven't done that, go ahead and do that. If you've done that, let's go over to home, and we're going to start fresh. So I'm going to go to create new, and we'll start with our plain environment. All right, cool. Now with that loaded up, just like the exterior workflow, we're going to import the model, and then we'll start adding materials. And this is going to move a lot faster than the exterior model, just because we're a lot more experienced now. I know you know how to move around and navigate in Lumion. We know the material settings. So you'll see, like, once you start becoming proficient at this, how much faster your projects can move. So the faster you move, the more money you can make, right? So I'm going to go over here to imported models. Let's hit place, and we're going to do import new model, and go and find your resources, your downloaded resources file, and look for the one that says Lumion 2024 interior project, and hit open. This one's going to take a little bit longer to load than the exterior, just because the interior model's got so much data, right? It's got all these different furniture assets. It's got, appliances, trim, a lot of things are going to kind of weigh down this file. So that's why I wanted to have these as two separate projects, because if it was one giant one, it would probably slow down most computers. So that's why we're doing this. And while we're waiting, I think it's also worth mentioning that, I did give you a model that has an interior and an exterior. If you want more practice, go ahead and treat the exterior the same as we did before, right? That's one of the benefits of taking this course. You're getting a lot of free content that you can help experiment with. And definitely do share this with me. Like, I'd love to see what you guys are doing. Happy to critique your work. Share that in the discussion area so we can have a conversation. Okay, so now that it's loaded, it's on my cursor. So I'm just going to zoom out so I can see this, and I'm going to place this. And just like the exterior project, what we're going to do is once it's placed, we're going to update the coordinate system. So I'm just going to zero out everything. And then the Y, I believe we did 0.09. So I'll do that. Yeah, perfect. Just so I can see the grass. So you're going to see that this is going to run much harder on your computer. You can see here that I'm getting about 13 frames per second. This is a very heavy model. So that's to be expected. If it's like unbearable, make sure you go over to your settings and you lower this as needed, right? So if I were to switch this to 67% and go back, you'll see things look a lot blurrier on my screen, and this is going to take a little moment to update, but it's definitely not going to be as hard on your computer. It kind of drives me nuts, so I'll leave it at 100. You can also lower it here as well to boost your frames per second. Great. So now that we're here, okay, let's go over here. So what I was talking about was we've got our subway tile here. This is all going to be a white painted cabinet, and we're going to do some brass and a hardwood floor. So to get started, let's go over to our material mode and let's start with a backsplash. So like I was saying with the exterior tutorial, a lot of the materials I use come straight out of the material library from Lumion. It's very rare where there isn't something that can kind of match what the client wants. So I'm just going to search for a tile. Okay, and the subway tile is like your standard 2x1 kind of block tile. It's gonna be one of these guys. Yeah, and they come in different shapes. So you can see this one's perfect, and I'm just gonna customize it a little bit because right now it's kind of gray. So I'm just gonna double click it, and as you remember, color versus texture, I'm gonna lower this so it's a little brighter. I think the scale is great, but you're gonna see here that you see how the brick or the tile is kind of chopped. So we're gonna fix that with our UV coordinates, right? And we're going to offset. I'm going to hold down my shift just so it's perfect and I get a full brick there or tile there. Great. So we've got that. The relief is controlling how deep that's being shown. I think 100 totally fine. And our roughness, we don't want it to be too shiny. And we've got our texture map here that's generating how shiny it should be. So that all looks good. I'm not going to play with that. Metalness at 0, totally fine. And then I'm going to do a little bit of weathering. You guys know how much I love that. So I'll add some weathering. It's going to kind of fill in some details here and make it look a little darker, a little more realistic. We don't want to go too far though. And I'll do my soften edges as well. Okay, great. Perfect. Okay, so we've got that. And now we just need a paint for all the cabinets. So I'm going to click this and I'm going to go over to library. And if you saved the trim material from before to your local library, you can definitely use that for this. Here, I'm just going to grab that plastic material we used as a starter and customize as needed. Go with this plastic glossy, and I'm just going to make that white. So I'm going to bring this all the way down. I'm going to play with the soften edges, and I'm going to add weathering, and you're going to see it's going to start adding all that nice shaded information there. And I'll switch it to wood just because these are wood cabinets and this is slightly more realistic. Okay, great. So we've got that. Okay, 2 materials down. I could make this brighter or whiter if I wanted by bringing this down. Okay, and I'm beginning to lose the texture information of the mortar, so that's kind of where, yeah, this is going to come into play. So you've got a couple tools to help you there, right? So we've got our hardware. We said this is going to be like a brass. So I'm going to go over to library. We're going to find our metals. Okay. And here we go. That's brass. Double click. And let's take a look. Okay. And this is one of those situations where I have all these as different materials. And that's because, sometimes they change their mind and they want it to be different. So here you can see this is like kind of rough. This isn't like a good finish brass. So I'm just going to lower the relief so it doesn't look so worn. I'm going to lower the map scale a bit. I'm going to add some weathering, slight weathering. Metalness is good, right? Because it's at 100. Same with our reflectivity. And we're going to soften the edges. Okay, we don't want to go too far. Okay. Okay, I'm going to tweak this just a little bit more. Lower the relief. Okay, we don't want this to look too beat up because this is a brand new house. See how shiny we can go. Yeah, it might be too shiny. Yeah, somewhere around there is great. Lower this a bit. Perfect. So that looks good. So I'm happy with this. I'm going to copy this around, paste it here on our pot filler. Okay, pasted that. That looks good. And it's going to be the same hardware up here as well. And I'm just pasting. Again, we're working smart, not hard here. So we're just duplicating a lot of our materials. So I'll paste that. Great. Okay. And we'll paste that as well. All right, great. So now our countertop, that's going to be a typical marble. So let's grab this. Top kitchen. We'll go to library. And let's go to stone. So let's just say, for example, I did have a very particular texture map. It would be the same thing like we did with the shingle, right? I'd go under custom and then I'd import the maps. So that's totally fine too. It's just like we're working quickly here. This is a typical standard workflow, right? So we've got our stone. We want something under marble. Okay. And when it comes to these textures, we want something that looks, semi-veiny. Yeah, exactly. And you see how it says Polygon? Polygon is a high quality distributor of materials. And you see that number 2048 that will appear up there as I hover or on the name. That means it's a 2K texture. So 1024 is 1K, 2K is 2048. The higher it is, the higher and larger the texture map. More quality, right? So I'm going to do that. The problem is the more higher quality assets you have, the slower Lumion will render, right? So this looks good. We're getting some nice reflection information there. Let's soften the edges. Okay, great. That's beautiful. That's being carried over here. Awesome. Here I can make the island the same color as the cabinet. So I can copy this and paste it, or I can make it a different material altogether, right? Because it is its own thing. So if I want this to just be wood, that could be the case. Or if I want it to be like a royal blue, I could do that as well. Like if I were to just grab a color here, look, we've got a deep royal blue. So again, totally up to you guys what you want to do. I'm just saying we've got options here. And the weathering is a little extreme here. Do that. Okay. All right, cool. And we've got our kicks right down here. I'm going to grab this again and we'll paste that down here. And I can use it for the trim as well. So we're going to get a lot of mileage out of this. But we can also make the windows just black. So I can paste this here and then change the color. Okay, and now let's just change to black. There you go. Okay, great. All right, we've got to change our faucet. You can see like how quick we're working here, right? So I'm going to grab this, copy, and paste. Okay. This sink, this is a ceramic sink, so this is just going to be like a shiny white. So we're happy with that color there. Let's just make it all the way white. And let's increase the reflectivity. Okay. Yeah, and the roughness, just so it's shiny. Perfect. I don't want to add too much weathering. And soften. So you can see it's kind of like the same process. It's either I'm copying or I'm pasting or I'm creating a new material. So then here for our appliances, these are just stainless steel appliances, very common material for Lumion to have. So I'm just going to go over to library and our metals. And I could search manually or I could just search with the search bar, right? So stainless. Okay, we've got a couple options. I like this one. So I'm going to double click this. Perfect. Okay, and if I want, I could lower the roughness or increase based on how shiny I want it to be. I like that. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to place it on all the different components here. Yep, paste that there. We'll paste it over here as well. Okay, and I could soften the edges and add some weathering if I want. And I would select like a metal. Yeah, exactly. Perfect. So I should have done that before I copied, but yeah, this is what happens. So I'm going to copy this and just paste it elsewhere. And what's nice is I can tweak like the coloring of these if I want. Like if I want this to not be as shiny as the rest, yeah, exactly. I can scuff that up. So that way there's a little bit of a difference between them. So I've selected the fridge door here. Let's lower that a little bit. Exactly. So it doesn't get picked up like that. All right, cool. And now this is like an iron top. So I'm going to click this. Okay, we'll go to library. And again, I can search for iron or literally like sift through the assets. Okay. Go with this. And this is a little too shiny, so I'm going to dull this. But again, I know I keep saying this, but I'm really just using the asset library to do a lot of the heavy lifting for me. We'll go somewhere around here. We'll add a lot of weathering here because it shouldn't be too shiny. Perfect. Okay, cool. So now we've got our ceiling and our lights that need to be edited. Ceiling, lights, and the floor. So we've done like the main kitchen components. It's just the bigger picture. So if you want, you can save here. So I'm going to save my changes here. And I'm just going to go up here to save as. And I'll save this on my hard drive. And I'm going to call this interior model. Okay, perfect. All right, and now let's move on to the ceiling and the floor.